And my question relates to the Hare Coursing Monitoring Committee. If you will provide the minutes of the annual meeting, if you're satisfied with the make-up of the committee, and to make a statement on this.
Minister.
Deputy, a monitoring committee on coursing is in place, comprising veterinary and administrative officials from the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, the Irish Coursing Club and the National Parks and Wildlife Service, to monitor developments in coursing. In that regard, the situation is kept under constant review to ensure that coursing is well run, controlled and responsible manner in the interests of hares and greyhounds. The work of the Monitoring Committee focuses on the maintenance of the highest standards of animal welfare and safety for both hares and greyhounds. It is critically important that the Monitoring Committee continues its work to ensure that those in coursing operate in accordance with the regulatory framework and that the welfare and safety of hares and greyhounds is kept to the forefront at all times. The Committee meets annually and, inter alia, considers any issues arising from the previous coursing season. Wildlife rangers from the National Parks and Wildlife Service and veterinary inspectors from my own department attend coursing meetings throughout the coursing season and report on their findings. These reports are reviewed by the Monitoring Committee, which also arranges to have any complaints or reported incidents investigated. I have no plans to change the composition of the Monitoring Committee. The report of the Monitoring Committee on coursing for the meeting held on the 18th of December 2018 was released on receipt of a recent request under the Freedom of Information Act 2014. I can supply a copy of the report or the minutes to the Deputy. The report covers a review of the 2017-2018 coursing season, the provision of new reporting forms, the issue of illegal hunting, the problems caused by buzzards, the media coverage of a disease outbreak in the United Kingdom, and a single item under any other business.
Thank you very much, Deputy.
You might just clarify what date that was released, if you could.
The report of the Monitoring Committee on coursing for the meeting held on the 18th of December was released on receipt of a recent request under the Freedom of Information Act 2014. Recently, I don't have the exact date.
Okay,
I can give you a copy of the.
Right,
of the
yeah,
minutes.
that would be useful. Thank you, Minister, because the question arose from a Freedom of Information request by ICABS, the Irish Council of Blood Sports. They were looking for the minutes of the Monitoring Committee, which they got in 2016 and 17, but not in 2018. So that was the background to my question here. But the one point I would make about the Monitoring Committee is that there is no independent animal welfare body represented on that. And I'll just give you one example. At the 2017 meeting, the CEO of the Irish Coursing Club stated, and I quote, that Caoilte lands are largely free of predators, therefore have a thriving hare population. The Department of Agriculture agreed to contact officials in Caoilte for permission for Caoilte lands to be used by the ICC to capture hares. Thankfully, Caoilte refused to allow this. So is it appropriate that Department of Agriculture officials would intercede on behalf of hare courses to net vulnerable hares for use as live lures for greyhounds? I believe that the Department did overstep its remit there to facilitate this particular request, and that was behind the FOI request.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Well, Deputy, as I said, I'll be pleased to give you a copy of what has already been released under the Freedom of Information request. My understanding is it's a meeting of the 18th of December 2018, which reviews the 2017-2018 coursing season. I understand that one coursing club was sanctioned arising from that review or the ongoing inspection by either Parks and Wildlife or Veterinary Service in my own department. That one coursing club was sanctioned, but I'll arrange to have the detail that the Deputy, the minutes of that meeting made available to the Deputy.
Fine, quick comment, Deputy.
One other aspect which I think really brings this out into the open. There was a coursing meeting last January at 7 houses in County Kilkenny. The coursers' report was that there were 4 hares dying of natural causes confirmed by the vet. The National Parks and Wildlife Ranger said there were 4 hares who died of injuries received after being hit by greyhounds. The vets report that there were 6 hares examined for injuries and then cites 0 hares confirmed injured, 0 hares euthanised, 0 dying from injuries and 0 post-mortem. And that vet's name was redacted. So there are really serious questions for that monitoring committee. And then video footage at that particular coursing event showed coursing officials in the video clip running across the field, pulling a hare from the dogs before carrying off the doomed hare off to whatever was going to happen to it there. Now, you and I don't agree on live hare coursing, but I think at the very least we could agree on transparency at the meetings and transparency and truthfulness of what exactly is happening. I mean, I heard you earlier saying that there can be no compromise on animal welfare, but there is compromise on animal welfare here with vets, or with the hares, sorry.
Okay, final comment.
Well, Deputy, as you're, like, the function of the department is to provide, as I understand it, the veterinary supervision of and I wouldn't like to have aspersion cast on any official. I'm not familiar with the meeting that you allude to, and the function of the National Parks and Wildlife. Are amongst the functions that they have, as I understand it, is the licence required to capture hares for coursing purposes. It is imperative that, and I'm surprised that you allude to a hare, you know, to be released. Greyhounds race at coursing now with muzzles, so that there should not be the situation you allude to. And what my department would insist upon and is compliance with the law in terms of appropriate running of these events. I appreciate people have different views on it. But I strongly believe that a regulated coursing industry is better than an industry that's driven underground and unregulated.
Okay.